Hey everyone, welcome to OG Chat. This is Vlad Grinberg. I'm owner of the Organic Grill in East Village, New York. Organic Grill has been in a community for the last 20 years. And as you all know, we started our podcast, OG Talk. And since we always did it in a restaurant and now we are behind closed doors, we decided to call this series Behind Closed Doors OG Chat. And we're talking to our neighbors and our friends just to kind of keep in touch and not to forget that we are part of something bigger than just sitting behind closed doors. And I decided to approach best chefs, best vegan chefs in the world to kind of see how they doing, how they coping with new environment, how they trying to keep helping community. And I wouldn't be able to start this chat if I wouldn't talk to Doug McNish. Here it is, Doug McNish, Canada, Toronto, and we all read his books. We all studied his books. One of my personal favorite is Everyday Vegan. I used to hire cooks only after asking the question what kind of vegan books they read. And if they told me about your book, they got a score. So welcome to OG Chat, Doug McNish.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Doug, I'm following your career closely. We spoke a couple of times during the time before, and I know you've been to Organic Grill a couple of times.
Yeah, so my vegan story actually started in New York many years ago. I think we're almost 16 years ago now, or 17 years ago, and one of the first places I went was Organic Grill, and yeah, it was, so it's really cool. So it's really nice all these years to come full circle back and chat with you.
Thank you. I'm happy that when I was preparing to this interview, I was able to go through research and kind of made some parallels between me growing up and you. And I kind of got jealous and asking you some questions. I know you started to work in a kitchen when you were 15 years old, right? And it looked like you enjoyed it, but you also decided not to go to school after a while, right? Because you felt like you're not fitting well.
Yeah, I do come from an educated household. My dad was a judge, my mom was a nurse, and I grew up watching Jeopardy, and I memorized all the state capitals of the United States by the age of 10. And I knew who Vivaldi was. I was reading Stephen King when I was 9 years old. But for whatever reason, the traditional school system just didn't work for me. And I guess it's part of the reason why I'm an entrepreneur is I just don't want to be told what to do or how to do things, or you have to be here at a certain time, or you won't pass and you won't be successful. And I guess that's where I found cooking. And I was really young, and I started working at a British pub, and I fell in love with everything about food. I love the craziness. I love the craziness. I love the creation. I love that it wasn't an environment you go and you just type on a laptop 8 hours a day and then check out. And that was sort of what led me to, I said, you know what? High school, you're fantastic, but this isn't for me. And I went to chef school. And
I'm sure that your parents took it really well. They were so happy that you finishing with school at 15 years or 16 years old.
Well, I think it was by the age of 17, and I wasn't really going to a lot of school. I was working full time, and I loved the working full time, and I wasn't going to a lot of school, and it just wasn't for me. And I think they saw it coming. One of the things that my mom and dad said to me though was, "Listen, we support you, but we want you to get a diploma. We want you to get a red seal." And in Canada, a red seal is essentially it's a government test you do to become a chef. And my mom passed away almost 7 years ago now, but she said, it's important that you get in with the Escoffier Society and you study this as an art, as a craft, not just as a part-time job. And if you could do all those things, then I will be happy with you. And knock on wood, I did those things. I got my red seal when I was younger. I did a vegan dinner a few years ago for the Escoffier Society here in Toronto. So I've written the cookbooks. I've done all that. So my parents have both passed away, unfortunately, but I think that, I did a lot of television and media, and they saw me doing my thing, and they were happy. They were happy I did what I did.
That's so important that despite uh, that they went traditional route and your mom was a nurse and your father was an attorney, they were able to recognize that it's not all black and white, and you definitely go in alternative route, and they gave you a chance to carve it your way. But it's still like they almost like set up a framework that you're not just a worker, right? You can be an artist even if you work in a kitchen, and you have to become uh, I wouldn't say above average or mediocre, but you have to become an artist in your craft.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be happy. If you're artist in your craft, go for it, reach for the stars. But at the end of the day, and my son is 4.5 years old, and this is what I teach him, even now at this age, whatever you do, I don't care. You want to be a garbage man, you want to play in the NBA, you want to own a restaurant, you just have to be happy. And in my opinion, that's where true success is. It's not money, it's not fame, it's not notoriety, it's not signing autographs, it's just being happy. And I think
And
that's
we have to recognize that it's a kind of a different age, uh, that there are many ways to success, and even success cannot be defined in one term. Like people do different things. A traditional school is not necessarily the answer for everyone, especially with all economy and a crisis that we are going through now.
yeah, I mean, it's not linear, right? It's success
That's
is
right. That's a good way to.
we've always been taught that you go to school, you get your education, save up money, buy a house, have a family, and that's success. And to some people, that might be success. I love my family and I love my career, but to me, success is different. It's being happy. It's the ability to, call the shots of your own life and create. No matter what you do, I think creating is so important to keep us thriving as human beings.
Doug, I'm really curious. Like, what do you think gave you strength uh, at 17, right? To say to the world, say to your family, even to yourself, that I want to do something different. Because a lot of people would just submit and just go with not with the flow, but with the pressure, right? Like, what do you think now, looking back? And I'm not looking for like big words. I'm just like, what inside made you feel that you're doing the right choice?
Yeah, I've thought about this and I've had this discussion with others too. And I think a lot of it really has to do with when you're really young. I know that there's impressionable years for a child, and that those impressionable years are so important. And it's vital to teach them not to settle. It's vital to teach them things like negotiation. It's vital to teach them that they can be whatever they want to be and do whatever they want to do. And I was lucky enough to have a mother when I was younger that exposed me to things like theater and live music and just different life experiences. And I think once you start to understand that there's so much to life, there's so much more than clocking in and out and going to the movies on the weekend and getting drunk every week. There's just so much more to life than all of that. And I'm not anti-wine. I love wine. I'm just saying that there's so many people who are zombies in their job and they're handcuffed. They go 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and that's it. And yeah, I think at the beginning of life, it's so important to teach a child they can be whatever they want to be. And whether that's president of the United States or a rock star or a vegan chef, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I'm sure your mom would be happy to hear those words.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, I kind of cannot agree more. Even now, I'm trying to take some kind of reflection and lesson from what is happening now, in this pandemic, because I don't know about you, but I spend a lot of hours at work and kind of have justification for a lot of my actions when I'm at home uh, late and my kids may be sleeping already, and I'm saying it to myself, but I'm doing it for the family. And then when you're stuck with them for two months and you spending so much time, you almost like asking yourself a question: was it worth it that I spent so much time at work? Like I'm always saying it, that I'm doing it for my family. When was the last time I had a conversation with my son? He's 10 years old. He has his own tribulations now. He's not going to have a prom. He's worried about his summer. We live not far from a beach, and beach is closed. Like his whole life is upside down. For God's sake, he had a chat with his class, and he almost cried because he didn't see those kids for 2 months. Like, and why I'm not around, like, and working all those crazy hours. So I took my time, and we walk every day. We talk about his video games and stuff I didn't do before. So you almost like have to re-examine all those things. What are you doing it for? Some of the cliches that you're accustomed to and you stick to, oh, I'm working hard because of this and that. But maybe you're escaping some things in your life and not getting in touch like you were practicing early age when you were so in touch with yourself that you decided to take alternative routes. So I'm really happy that you kind of found your own way.
Thank you.
So I know that you were nominated not nominated, you won this great honor to be one of the 5 top chefs, vegan chefs who revolutionized the food. And what's interesting is that only few out of those 5 are actually still in a restaurant field and working hard. Tal and you and Chloe, of course, does her pop-ups, but yeah, so it's different things that chefs are doing now. What projects are you working on now?
Well, I feel like it's really important to diversify what you're doing and not only focus on one thing. And it's true, I have a bit of a hybrid brand, in a sense that, I have various skill sets and I like to apply them to different things. So do I have the knowledge of running a successful restaurant? Yes, I do. Can I execute that? Yes, I can. But I also write the cookbooks. I love, formatting and editing recipes, and there's just something right when other people can execute your recipes and they're happy. That makes me feel really good. I love being in front of the camera. I started doing local television about 10 years ago, and that sort of grew and grew and grew. So I've been in talks over the years to do some a little more professional television style of work, and just helping. The whole reason I do what I do is for the animals. I am an ethical vegan, and I want to be able to share what I do and save as many animals as possible. And, whether that's going into a restaurant and making a great recipe or even just posting on Instagram, I'm really in it for that reason. And that's where my passion is. So, I do a lot of consulting. I was in Europe a lot last year, working with some various businesses. But I think, just as an entrepreneur, as a person, I think diversifying and doing as many things as you can properly, of course, is good, and it keeps life fun. Like, I never know. I'm always learning. Every day I find myself presented with a new skill I have to learn. And for me, I thrive off of that. I really like it.
And we had this brief conversation yesterday. You even mentioned that because I'm so diversified and do other things, it helps me to survive in these uncertain times.
Yeah, I think that having to rely on one source of income as an entrepreneur is a big mistake. And it's not like I'm not rolling in money right now, but because I have various streams of revenue, I have maybe 7 of them, and maybe 5 of them have gone downhill right now, but I still have a couple. So I have a little bit of, I still have some income, and but more importantly than income, I still have work to do. I still have something that keeps me creating. And it comes back to that is I can't stop creating. If I stop creating, that's the moment I feel like I'm going to give up, and giving up is not in my vocabulary.
Yes, and for those who are listening and watching in their homes now, I just want to mention this about Doug, that it might sound that he became an entrepreneur overnight and he uh, decided to do what he does, but it was a uh, route. He started his classic education, then he worked in private club, he worked in a restaurant, then he decided to pivot his life completely to be congruent to himself and took a big cut in his salary and started to work for vegan restaurants. And only then he started to do market where he tested his products and it became a restaurant.
Yeah. It's when you talk about it, yeah, it's definitely been. Yeah, I mean, listen, I've been in food now. This is year 21, and I definitely was trained in the traditional method of cooking animals and traditional food. And I'm glad I took that risk and I went out on my own and I started working in vegan places. And back then in Toronto, there was maybe two vegan restaurants or three. But I was going to New York a lot. I was staying in Manhattan, and I was seeing what was being done there, and that was 17 years ago. And even back then, it was like, wow, it blew my mind. I would taste like a vegan chicken wing or a steak or a burger, and I was like, oh my god, this actually tastes good. So I'm really glad I was able to bring that back to Toronto, and then yeah, it just got to a point where I had so much experience and I had bosses telling me what to do, and I knew what they were telling me was wrong. I knew it was wrong. So I said, okay, I got to just take a jump here. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I said to my then girlfriend, who's my now wife, I said, I'm going to sell kale chips on the street. I don't care what it takes. I'm just going to do my own thing. And knock on wood, that was 8.5 years ago.
I wanted to ask you. I'm really curious because again, I'm trying to make a comparison to my way of thinking. Were you mentally ready to be entrepreneur at the beginning of your career? You just waited to get more experience, or it kind of gradually brought you logically to the conclusion, I have to work on my own?
That's a good question. I think it's a little bit of both. I don't think anyone can ever be ready to be an entrepreneur. I really feel that. I mean, you can be ready in terms of finances or whatever, but it's it's a roller coaster. It's an up and down battle all the time. And I don't care who you are. You could be Whole Foods or you could be a small independent restaurant. One day you're going to lose a ton of money and the next day you're going to make a lot of money, and you have a lot of decisions to make in between. There's all those ebbs and flows. And one thing I think that I've learned in the last 10 years or so of hustling and doing what I do is you need to make sure to take the time for yourself and your family, because it's too easy just to work around the clock, like you said. But I mean, to answer your other question, I think I thought I was ready back then. It got to the point where I was going into work and I was being told what to do by people who had less experience than me. And I said, you know what? No, thank you. And that was when I just did it. And, you learn and you make a lot of mistakes along the way. But as long as you're learning from those mistakes, I think that that's the most important thing. Make a mistake, learn from it, go on.
I can totally relate to what you say. I always kind of think to myself that I would be a really bad employee. Like, because I always have something, not that I would be rude or anything, but on the back of my mind, I would definitely have an opinion and I would probably do it differently. So I said I would save myself aggravation and other people and just do it my way. And
Yeah.
it has a price, unfortunately. It has a price. Oh boy. Um, I want to tell you, and it's probably important to pay due here. Like your book, Everyday Vegan, not only for me, but for many chefs and restaurant owners I know, was almost like for some people, Wikipedia or encyclopedia of vegan knowledge. Uh, I can't I can't lie that I follow the recipe all the time, but I definitely see it as a skeleton to start. And a lot of people I talk to see it the same way, that you kind of like what I am in a mood for. You open in a book and you start creating. It's almost like a giving you a thesaurus of what is available, and you just start working. Thank you very much. I can imagine how big of a job it was to write this book.
Yeah, it was a lot of work. It was a lot of hours, and yeah, listen, I appreciate that because I'm the same way with cookbooks. I definitely don't follow a recipe, down to the T. And when I was first learning vegan, I bought a whole bunch of vegan cookbooks, and I can't say I followed anything down to the T, but I was definitely inspired. I know one of the books, Millennium in San Francisco. Eric Tucker, he's, in my opinion, he's the best vegan chef I think in the world. Like, technically speaking, he's just amazing. I staged there when I was 23. I think I was there just for 2 days. And I even thought about moving my life to San Francisco just to work at Millennium. But yeah, his book
You used
gave
to be in a hotel, remember?
Yeah, so I went there and on Geary Street. Yeah, Millennium.
I love
That's
this place.
actually where I went.
Addie,
And
I want to tell you something.
oh, there's my little boy.
Come
Hi.
on.
Yeah.
Addie,
What's that?
I heard someone at the door.
You
I
heard?
heard a knock.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
So you have your assistants everywhere.
I know that. Sorry. Woo! Yeah. Listen, I appreciate it, and if I can inspire one person through anything I've done, like for me, it's a job well done. Thank you.
And it's time to talk about Eric a little bit. His restaurant was such an inspiration for me. It was never really what I would want to do because his establishment at the time was so exquisite, so like high end for me that I loved it. It wasn't something that I would want to do personally because I was more on a like home cooking and diner style, like your cuisine. But it inspired me a lot, and I went there a couple of times. As a matter of fact, Eric and us, we were doing yearly events in Waldorf Astoria in New York, and we would invite them to Organic Grill and have a great time. Great people. They moved to Oakland now, right?
Yeah, they moved. I know that, but he's still doing his thing, and
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, if he ever, he knows that I had a lot of inspiration from him back in the day.
His book was very important for me as well.
His book was very important, and I follow guys like Chad Sarno a long time ago as well. Chad's a pioneer in all of this, so yeah.
Good friend. One of his chefs, Peter Cervoni, was my first chef, not first, but like a second wave of chefs, worked with us for a long time. Love this guy.
Yeah.
Tell me, when you started your own entrepreneurial career as a proprietor, like what I read something about your establishments that you wanted to kind of reshuffle the rules and do it a little bit different, to appreciate your staff more, to do things differently. Tell us a little bit about what atmosphere, what environment you wanted to create in your own restaurants. I think it's going to be important for other entrepreneurs to know.
Yeah, when it came to open my first brick and mortar location, I had spent so many years in kitchens with so many different bosses. And I think one of the things that is wrong with restaurants, and has been broken and wrong with restaurants for so long, is that the staff are simply treated as expendable. And, good food will not come out without happy staff. And it's the way it is. If you have staff who resent you, who don't want to come into work each day, you're not going to have a successful business. And there's so many restaurant owners I know that don't see this or don't understand this. And, I wanted to establish, it's a low paying industry. I mean, there's no way to sort of break it that human beings don't see the value per se on a plate of food the way they see it on a $6 Starbucks or a bottle of wine or entertainment, going to see a sports game. So we have to deal with being able to charge what we have to charge in order to get by. And so, I always tried to pay them as much as I possibly could. I've changed business models since then, so I don't have as many staff anymore to pay. but those that I work with know that I hopefully they know I treat them as well as I can. And, it's something I've always said is that if I'm making money, you're making money. And there's no way I'm going to be driving around a Mercedes Benz and you're all taking the bus. I would just never, that's not my view on life. And that's not my view on employing staff. And, I had a lot of great staff and I paid them as well as I could. And there was times where we were making money when I had that brick and mortar location. And I'll tell you, the vibe was just good. We were all coming together and things were going well. And I might not have made as much money short term, but long term, it helped my brand and my career tenfold. So anyone starting out, anyone considering that, if you're thinking of paying someone 13 an hour, pay them 14.50 or 15 or 16 or whatever you can afford to pay them. Take care of them too, and just treat them with respect. Telling people they're doing a good job, it means a lot. So
Absolutely agree with you. And I always kind of think like we in this business to be compassionate for animals, but not animals only. We have to be compassionate to our personnel, to our customers, because they're becoming friends. Let's be honest, like they're becoming friends. They're not just fans, and they're not just workers. They are friends for sure. And I feel it, like I haven't been seeing them for 2 months. I miss my crew. I call them, how are you guys doing? Did you get your benefits? Did you do this? Did you do that? And even we kind of got this situation when we would love to come back, but not all of our staff members feel the same, and we should be respectful. They don't feel they are ready, or that it's still safe, and we have to respect it.
yeah, no, it's definitely important. And hearing your staff is just hearing and listening is so important.
Doug, to wrap it all up, tell us what you're working on now. I know you're working on new things. I'm not in liberty to explore it. Tell us what you're working on.
Well, I have a new cookbook coming out end of September. So I'm starting to do some early marketing plans and figuring out how that's going to go in the current world we're in. My plan has always been to do as many in-person cooking demos and events as possible to help promote the book. I don't know how that will be going forward. So I'm planning some marketing for the book. I'm working on opening a place in Charleston, South Carolina in the United States. And so my business partner and I we're pivoting a bit, and we're figuring out the best way to open, to maximize revenues, to just, we don't know, because it's weird, right? It's a weird time. And we're allowed to open at 50% capacity down there. But as you probably know, as many restaurateurs know, 50% capacity is still very tough. You need to be full all the time in a restaurant to be truly successful. So we're planning some other strategies and some other ideas. And I'm slowly working and investing to do more online stuff. I never really got into YouTube a lot, but I do love teaching. I do love cooking. And with the world being more and more virtual, I think platforms like YouTube are going to be the next wave of how entrepreneurs like myself can grow and create and do things. So that, and just taking time to be with my family. I've really, there's days I want to kill them, but there's, like you, I was on the road for the last 6 months, almost all the time. I was away from home for almost 6 months. So, to have a couple of months at home with them has been really nice, and just playing with my little boy and, watching Netflix with my wife. It's been nice.
How successful or unsuccessful was your work with larger brands like Radisson? How did they perceive you, outsider, coming in and changing the classic way of doing things?
Yeah, I've done a lot of that in the last 8 or 9 years. It's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge, because those large organizations are definitely set in the way they do things. But I applaud Radisson, and I've worked with other brands in the past too. I applaud them for wanting to be different, wanting to change, doing new things. It's not easy. It's not easy to be ahead of your time. And, I think one of the things about me that speaks to large brands and businesses like that is I do speak their language. I do understand the business of food. I understand how to talk to chefs, sommeliers, front of house servers. So in general, I think pretty successful. There's been supply chain issue. There isn't as big of a demand for vegan in the world as the rest of traditional food is. So there's been a challenge to get things like jackfruit or even tofu, sometimes tempeh. But overall, I think it's gone really well.
I'd like to thank our guest, Doug McNish, vegan chef who is coming up with new book. And let's keep it a secret, so you're going to have an opportunity to talk about it more. Hopefully we'll get to the details of how this book is different from everything he did before. Thank you everyone who is listening and watching for your time. Please check our episode of OG Chat Behind Closed Doors on YouTube. Check our OG Talk on YouTube and Apple Podcast. Please subscribe. Please share it with your friends if you like it. And have a great day. Have a safe day at work if you're working. And Doug, thanks again. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you for having me, my friend. And I hopefully look forward to working with you at Organic Grill in the future.
For sure.